Rocky Hill Board of Education meeting to be held January 19th, 2023, 7 p.m. in the Rocky Hill Town Hall Council Chambers. This meeting is being live streamed to the Rocky Hill Public Schools website. If everyone could please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right, good evening, everyone. We are going to start tonight's meeting. The agenda is a little bit out of our traditional format, but tonight's meeting is going to start with a report from the Assistant Superintendent for Curriculum and Instruction, Ms. Listro.
Thank you, Mr. Dillon. Okay. I'm going to be presenting to the board an update, as I have been doing last year in the past, on the progress we're making with promoting diversity and excellence in our school system. And I am joined this evening by our diversity consultant. You remember Mr. Eric Crawford. He will be presenting a little bit later in the presentation. And then I'm also joined this evening by our language arts coordinator in the district, Ms. Mary Schaefer. In a few moments, you will see why. We are highlighting our curriculum and the work that we have been doing to promote diversity in our curriculum. So, I'd like to begin with a quick look at the numbers. As of last week, Rocky Hill is comprised of 35 countries. I'm not sure why that's presenting that way. I apologize. 35 countries, which is about 17% of our population. And we have 36 spoken languages, which is about 23% of our population. And then I know sometimes you like an update on our EL population, our students that are learning English. And currently, we have approximately 8% of our population having support from our TESOL teachers. As we mentioned last year, our goal is to really promote diversity across our entire community, and we're doing that by building personal relationships and making personal connections. And we're looking at it as a three-pronged approach. So we are talking about how we're empowering our students, how we're educating the adults, and how we are involving the parents in our community. So the first topic is a look at our students. And if you are involved in education, you may have heard a lot of talk about promoting windows and mirrors within your curriculum. So I want to take a moment and explain Dr. Bishop, who is a leading expert that actually coined these topics. And it's the notion that through teaching through high-quality literature, high-quality books, we actually enable students to see themselves and their daily lives as important and valuable because they're presented in the books. And then, if the curriculum is structured really well, those mirrors reflecting back on their life can also be turned around to be windows where they can get a view of other cultures and other ways of life that can help build their own personal identities. And you hear me talk a lot about building diverse perspectives, and that's really how we're doing this work. So in selecting books, quality absolutely matters. We look for high-quality characters, language, illustrations. We're making sure that the literature is accurate and authentic in their perspectives and how they portray their characters, their setting, the themes of the books. We look to avoid any stereotypes that are not accurate, And of course, we're promoting diverse authors and their authentic experiences. The accessibility to students is encompassed in our entire K through 12 curriculum. We can find these diverse literature in whole group instruction, in our read-alouds, our book clubs, independent reading. They can be found in classroom libraries as well as our school libraries. In front of you, you'll see a bin with some sampling of the literature that we have been putting in over the past several years. This is not inclusive, it's just a sampling. And what we've been doing is looking at the topics that are covered in our curriculum, and we've been selecting books to support those various topics. So for example, Black history, Black authors, you see a selection of some of the books that are now being used. And I do want to highlight some of them. Trevor Noah, who I know has been in the news lately, and we did put that in our 10th grade curriculum. It's going really well. And titles like Firebird, Misty Copeland's story, My Brother Martin, celebrating Martin Luther King from his sister's perspective. So we have been adding a wide variety of literature on that topic. We also have literature on Native American topics. You'll see some listed here. Diverse origins. So we're promoting a deeper understanding of various cultures. Here, we're showing you examples of cultures from Japan, Pakistan, India, Korea, and Hawaii. Our curriculum does include discussing immigration, and we've been able to support those conversations with really rich and diverse literature around the topic. Historical fiction. Some of these titles you're probably familiar with. For example, Ground Zero. We highlighted Alan Gratz as an author a few years ago with our One Book, One Author that we do in March. The Breadwinner was also one of our One Book, and then a couple other samplings for you. We have discussions about inclusion, and these topics really support authentic experiences and celebrate the wonderful diversity that is available by including students with Down syndrome and other types of disabilities. We have social and emotional learning components in our curriculum, and there's a sampling of some of those titles as well. And last but not least, we do celebrate women in our curriculum, and we thought you'd enjoy seeing titles like Ruth Bader Ginsburg, Hidden Figures, which of course is a popular movie that a lot of the students enjoy. I would be remiss if I didn't include all of the work that we're doing with students outside of school, promoting after-school programs. And I just want to highlight this is very important because the research has shown that students benefit by having improved positive feelings towards school. Their academic performance improves, class participation, attendance, social behavior, feelings of self-worth when they're actively participating in after-school activities. It also benefits our community because every time these students are engaging in these clubs, they're building the soft skills that are going to be needed when they become members of our productive workforce. And of course, as many of you know, it benefits families because they're in a very safe location in our schools doing meaningful, authentic work outside of their school day so that parents can continue working and doing what they need to do to support the family. In a bit, Mr. Crawford is going to talk about some of the specific examples going on. One of them will be the GMS Cares Club, and they just did a very successful fundraiser for the Mercy House. And I include this quote because part of the work that we're doing with diversity is really helping students understand the value of giving. And this shines in the GMS Cares Club. And I think I'll let you talk about that a little bit more. And then, you want to do now? Sure.
Okay. Again, I'd like to thank you guys for allowing me to work with your students and your teachers. This has been really fun for me, to be honest with you. It's not hard work because, you know, these kids, they come with a sense of empathy, and they know they're privileged somewhat compared to other kids. And I was so impressed this week when I had an opportunity to spend some time with the middle school kids for the GMS Care Club, all the things they were doing, going into Hartford, just doing all this stuff and just talking with them and just listening to the things they like to do. Some was like crazy stuff, but, you know, and I don't have any say in the club. I walk in and people think I used to oversee it and they don't allow me to talk at all. They have all the ideas. They have the enthusiasm. I may give them a couple ideas on how they can extend or give them some other things to look at. But that middle school class is coming up through this program. They're going to be special. We have all types of kids. It was, how many kids were in there? About 14, 15 kids?
Well, at the middle school, there were at least 30 there.
30,
that
yeah,
day.
it was a lot.
And there were many who couldn't make it because there were other clubs going on.
But just to feel like I look at both programs not just as programs. I look at how you guys are building the infrastructure of this work. Last year, the clubs were awesome last year, and those kids moved on, and it was like a seamless transition to these kids, that sort of thing. So when we talk about infrastructure, I think that you guys are onto something really good, and you got some really good kids. The kids in the high school, a little different, right? These kids are really, really into social justice. You know, just looking at how people are treated in the school. I didn't hear a whole lot about mistreatment, but I did hear a whole lot about what can we do to add society? How can we create, especially the minority students, how can we create Black history? Like just for the Black History Month in February, we didn't talk about Martin Luther King and Harriet Tubman, the traditional things. They talked about what has been the movement since the Civil Rights Movement? What has actually occurred for people of color to advance? And what haven't we done? That sort of thing. And I thought that was like a really great way of thinking about Black history, creating it and see if all the struggles that Martin Luther King and other people has contributed to that struggle, have we really benefit from that? They was thinking that, processing that. And that was important. And you have one young lady in the high school, I know she's going to be a civil rights lawyer. I just know it. And we couldn't shut her down. I know she's going to be a civil rights lawyer. So I told her, I said, I want to see you on CNN, and you're going to go to jail about 20 times for boycotting. And she said, that's me. But she was really, really enthusiastic about getting her classmates involved and doing different activities. So, I also, this last week, I was invited to one of your elementary schools to do some work, right? And it was around an issue a parent had with a kid and a kid, that sort of thing. And we resolved that instead of looking at that individual kid who was creating the issues, we said we're going to create a club. And we're going to take all the kids who fit that mold and we're going to put them in some type of incentive type club. And we're going to make that kid the leader. So I was out the other day meeting in a group, and the principal, Ms. Diaz, which I think she's awesome, she says, Eric, since you left, the kid hasn't been a problem the last 3 days. So she brought him down to the office. I said, my man, I'm hearing good things about you. Now, this is a kid they was having some issues with. And he said, I said, what's the difference? He says, no, I just know what to do. So I mailed him a Yard Goats T-shirt to his house, asking for his address so he could get something mailed to him. So I want to get that kid to become a leader, and the father of the child who's having the issue, I'm going to utilize him with our parent Zooms. Because I think those Zooms should involve all types of parents once a month at your house, drink what you drink, or whatever it is, and we sit there and we talk about kid issues, we talk about some non-traditional issues that impact the school climate, because that's what's important in Rocky Hill. You guys are going to go through a transition with a lot of things happening in town, right? So we got to be prepared for that. We know some things are coming. So we got to make sure we have the resources and we have the infrastructure to deal with some of these things. Again, I mean, this has got to be the easiest work I've ever done, seriously. And I'm learning a lot from the kids out here. And you guys need to be proud of these kids that go to this school. I have personal friends of mine kids who gone here 10 years ago, 12 years ago, that sort of thing. And some of the stories they used to tell me about the district, and it doesn't exist. And I know Mr. Zito, I've known him for 110 years, and I know exactly what his mindset is when it comes to diversity, every kid being treated equally, and every parent got to get that individual attention when it comes to their kids. And we got to get parents to buy in, support each other, and I think this, you guys going to be off and going, but I couldn't be any happier coming out here. I look forward to coming out here, even with some issues. But you guys got some very good administrators and superintendent, and the board has been great. I got to throw you guys in there, I guess. Say some great things about the board. But the board president, you guys have been very supportive of me, and if I could continue to work and we just get better each and every year, this could be a model for other schools in the state, really, because they're going to need it. A lot of schools are going to need something like this. You guys have any questions for me, or?
I think just on behalf, Ms. Listro may have more to talk about. Do you have more to talk about, Ms. Listro?
I do, but
Okay. I just want to say, I think on behalf of the board, I think thank you for everything you've done. We started this process with you over a year now, and I think I've heard nothing but great things in the community about the work that you're doing, as well as how Ms. Listro's incorporated this mindset into the curriculum. So, on behalf of the board, certainly thank you for all you've done for the community. I love to hear that you think it's so easy. I think you make our life easy as board members as well. So thank you for everything you've done.
Thank you. But, also I have a partner in crime with me, Fran, and she does that yoga, mindness thing, or whatever they do with all that, that's great for kids and staff. So we're going to be incorporating a lot of that with the professional development with the staff. Because, dealing with these kids today, they could stress you out a little bit, right, during the day. So we got to make sure their mental health is taken care of, and we pay attention that they're healthy every day. So we'll just keep adding little pieces. I have a friend of mine, Yolanda, she's here today. She works for a nonprofit for victims. So we're talking to, I want her to put some kind of group together for kids who may be doing a little bullying and this and that, what a victim would feel like. That side of it. Teach them what somebody would feel like if you're going to be mean to them, if you're going to say bad things to them, just to raise their consciousness about how somebody else would feel. I think empathy is very important. So we're going to try and bring different people in and work with the kids and the staff. So that's where we're at. Did I miss anything?
great.
And by the way, Darlene's great too.
All right. Well, I was going to say the same about you.
I didn't sit down
He's
and
very
listen.
modest, but I do have the pleasure with working with him and seeing him interact with the kids. And there is an energy that happens when Mr. Crawford walks into these classes with the kids. And my nickname for him is the idea guy, because there's not more than 5 minutes that happens with kids. And a lot of the ideas that we are presenting are actually coming out of the conversations that Mr. Crawford has with these students and the teachers. So it is a great partnership, and I'm very thrilled to work with you, Eric. It's going
appreciate
great.
it.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
But hang tight, because there might be a little bit more for you to set. Okay. Okay. Moving on to the next prong, it's professional development. And we have been doing a little book study at the high school. Mr. Fode's here, and I know we've talked about this. Very successful. We've talked with staff and given them skills about how to handle the difficult conversations that may be coming up in the classroom. So the first session that we had with them was really unpacking what the research has to say and proven practices by doing a debrief on the book itself. And then we have a follow-up presentation scheduled for February in which our presenter's coming back, and she's going to personalize it by content area so teachers can actually have scenarios of what's going on in their classroom with the trainer and talk through how best to handle some of these situations. So that's going really well. I shared with you some feedback from the teachers so you could see in their own words how they're feeling about this professional development. We also had a wonderful presentation on Indian culture presented by my executive assistant, Rupali Brar, who's also a parent in the community. And she presented a lot of information on the Indian culture. I'm just going to highlight a little bit here. But she talked about the main festivals. She talked and helped us understand the diversity within the different regions on religion, languages, and food. She also helped us understand the differences between their education system. And again, the teachers found this very valuable and have actually asked her to come back and share more information. So we look forward to that. Another topic is providing information for teachers on how to handle our newcomer English learner students. They're coming from different countries with different cultural backgrounds. And so our TESOL teachers spent some time explaining to the teachers, again, the different stages of language acquisition. They made suggestions for how to support their reading growth, their writing, and their math. And then back to Mr. Crawford. He actually met with some teachers during past professional development days, and his partner in crime, who you'll be hearing more about, Francoise Legert, and they're having diversity conversations with staff. And it was a rich discussion. I'm just highlighting a couple things here. You mentioned about seeing the strengths in each child, meeting each child where they are, not making assumptions, and really the importance of asking questions to get to know the family, the student, their needs. And then, again, Dr. Zito was also part of this professional development and reaching out to your principal, your support staff, your central office staff, if they have questions. And then lastly, I'm going to turn it back to Mr. Crawford in case he has any concluding thoughts. But our work does continue with meeting the family needs and working to bring this community together.
Darlene, could just for a quick second, could you also talk about planning the next follow-up meeting? Because I know you mentioned to me that you talked with Mr. Crawford about kids, and I wonder if you could bring in kids to the board meeting in April or so.
We would love to come back, and that will give you a chance to meet Francoise Legert, who we're also getting to know and utilize her talents. We'd love to come back and actually have the students speak themselves. So make it a student-focused presentation for the next one, where they talk about the work they're doing and you hear it from themselves.
That'd be great.
Okay.
The board would really appreciate that.
Wonderful.
And, we also talked about, for example, the Indian culture they're teaching in, I think it's a middle school, taking them down to Foxwoods, right on the reservations, and let them go through some of the traditional things with traditional Indians right there on campus, like a field trip on the weekend, and bring the parents also, and they can engage in some type of activity. They have I've done some work down there, they have a wonderful recreation center down there. Like state of the art, and they never use it. So we want to try to get them around, and they could talk about some of the traditions, that sort of stuff, and eat their food, that sort of thing. So they could study in the classroom and actually go down on a reservation and hang out for a little bit.
Wow.
So we talked about that, the Amistad. Let them go down to New Haven to the Amistad, and then after that have a debriefing with a lunch. and talk about what they've learned, that sort of thing. So we're trying to make it very interactive and entertaining to the kids, that sort of thing, opposed to just reading a book and just go over, taking a test. So
And extending their learning to make it meaningful.
Absolutely.
So that it's not just something they're reading about in class, but then they can go out and experience it.
And in terms of the parents, again, I mean, we want to set up, I like to have a monthly Zoom, and it's just an open agenda to talk about anything these parents want to talk about. Kids, I mean, you look at kids now, the 2023 kid is a lot different than the 1990 kid, right? Has the kids changed or has the parents changed? That is the question. And we don't know, right? So I would like to have a Zoom where parents could develop a conscience, because we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have all this subculture stuff that these kids are learning, that sort of thing. We got to get up to speed with this stuff. These kids are light years ahead of us in terms of understanding things we don't understand, and that's why they react to things. That's why they act a certain way, some kids. So we as old school, we got to become new school. And I think we could teach our kids and relate to our kids a lot better if we had some type of process going on where we could get up to speed. I'm big on parents. I'm huge on parents. Nobody wants anything better for the kids than a parent, right? How we get there is confusing at times. So the parents in the audience, hopefully you got an email. I might be blasting you some. Hey, send you a link, and you just get on there and let's just talk it out for like an hour, whatever it might be, and bring this community together that way. So.
Excellent.
Is that gonna be like a monthly thing, or?
I like to do it monthly with different topics. It could be like social media one time, developing a structure in your household. And you got people from different cultures. They educate their kids differently. Mm-hmm. They teach their kids how to react to things differently. But when they walk through the school door, there's only one rule. They got to be able to code switch when they get to school, and a lot of kids and parents don't do that. So we got to get it in the parents' head and the kids' head. What's the rules at Rocky Hill School District? And that's what we do from 7 in the morning to 3 o'clock in the afternoon. That sort of thing. But it takes a little work. It takes a little time to get there.
All right. Any additional questions from any board members for Ms. Listro or Mr. Crawford? No. Well, thank you for that wonderful presentation. I do have something for you right here. Can you take this?
Oh, for me?
Yes, for you, sir.
Layoff notice?
No, we in a minute, Mr. Vassal from the Education Foundation is going to get up and speak, and we heard that you used to be okay with basketball, so
Yeah,
just okay. You played a little bit, huh?
He won 10 points a
Yeah,
game,
just a little bit you played, huh?
A little bit.
So maybe you can, if you're available, support the Education Foundation. I know
There you go.
to start public comment, Mr. Vassal's going to come up. You can either ref or play. I'd like to see you play, to be honest.
You don't want to see me play. You don't want to see me referee night after the game I had tonight. Y'all say please.
We're gonna start with audience participation. I know Mr. Vassal, representing the Education Foundation, wanted to start tonight.
Thank you. My
Make
name's
sure you grab him, Mr. Vassal, on the way out of here.
Really?
He's a
I
player.
just,
He's
the
a player.
I
He's
thought
a player.
the Scrabble. He is a handsome fella. No. Yeah, thank you. Henry Vassal, president of the Rocky Hill Education Foundation. And it's actually some exciting news. We just actually cemented this deal last night. And this is the first public appearance. We are going to be having the Harlem Wizards, which you guys all have a flyer in front of you, coming to the high school on March 17th. Doors open at 6 p.m. Tickets are very, very reasonable. Students and seniors, $15. Adults are $20. If you want a different experience, $50 will get you some lower seats. And we have something called the bench warmers for $95, where you actually warm up with the team. You get a team jersey, and you actually get to sit on the bench with the Harlem Wizards. So, I mean, that's just terribly exciting, and you guys are going to love it. As you guys know, the Education Foundation raises money for scholarships and other school needs. Seeing how it's budget season, we plan on helping this year as always. We're hoping for a sellout, so we suggest everybody try to buy their tickets early. The first 100 tickets sold will be eligible for a raffle. Your names will go into a pot for the Harlem Wizards, and there'll be a raffle. You can purchase tickets online or on your phone starting Monday. It's not up and running quite yet. There's different categories, as we talked about. You can go to the Harlem Wizards website. That's Harlem Wizards website, and read about fundraising that they do, and you can actually purchase tickets on their site as of Monday. And the reason why I'm here, most importantly, is because I need you guys, and I need your help. I need you guys to get the word out, and we need teachers to play, because it's a known fact that students will want to see their teachers play basketball. We are looking for a couple dozen players. I have spoken to SROs. They seem to be on board already. I have spoken to a couple town councilors. Hopefully Dr. Zito, which does a great job with time, can assist us once again.
I have been the scorekeeper. I'm happy to do it again.
There you go.
I know where we lock the clock, too. So.
So, I mean, it's going to be a great time, and I'll be honest, after 3 years of COVID and the Education Foundation was hurting for funds, this is a good thing. Once again, 100% goes back to the schools for scholarships and needs of the schools, so we do need a sellout, and we are planning on selling out. If anyone would like to volunteer, you can message us on Facebook. It's The Education Foundation, not the Rocky Hill Education Foundation, The Education Foundation. Message us on Facebook. We are going to need a ton of volunteers. That's about it. Come on out March 17th, Friday evening. It's going to be a great time. Laughs for everyone. Thank you.
Sounds like a great event. Thank you, Mr. Vassal. He's recruiting them already. There we go. Good job.
Nice.
While we're here tonight, is there anyone else from the public wishing to address the board? Mr. Kosker, how are you?
Good evening, everyone. Tom Kosker, 52 Tall Pines Lane. Couple quick things. One, really love the presentation, Darlene, Mr. Crawford. Great presentation. I'll say this as a little shout out, as I'm also a chair of the Rocky Hill Commission on Inclusion and Innovation, which is a new commission that started last year. So I know Darlene's participating a little bit with us. You know, on behalf of that commission, would love to connect with the board and the administration on the work you guys are doing at the schools. It's just seems like a great fit, you know, reaching out to the students again. And actually, really, it dawned on me as he was talking about connecting with parents as well. It really kind of clicked with me. But anyway, that was kind of a side note that I wasn't intending to talk about, but since he presented. The other thing, again, I know I always speak out on behalf of students with special education needs, and appreciate we had a great meeting, our Rocky Hill parent group, which is kind of our informal parent group meeting. We had a great meeting last night. We had a bunch of new parents there, which was wonderful, and thanks to getting the word out. So again, thanks to Darlene and the board and principals and all that stuff, and getting the flyer out, because it's really important. We can only connect with so many people. I know quite a few people in town, but not so many. So it's really great that you guys support us and get the word out. So I appreciate that. We had really great attendance last night at the high school at our meeting, and some new parents that hadn't connected with us before, which was really great. So appreciate the partnership. That's it. Thanks.
Excellent. Thank you, Mr. Kosker. Anyone else from the public here to address the board tonight? Hearing none. Seeing none, we will move on to the report of student representatives. I believe we have Rocky Hill High School here tonight.
Hi, I'm Nick Jokel. So the past week was a pretty big week. We've had midterms this week. Semester one's coming to an end. And yesterday also was the Project Lead the Way open house. That's the engineering program. Middle schoolers came to just see what that program was about. And also yesterday was the 8th grade orientation. There was 3 blocks, so they saw electives, they saw extracurriculars, and they had a student Q&A session. Also taking place is the peer tutoring, which has been led by the National Honor Society. And we also currently are halfway through winter sports season. And as far as extracurriculars go, the Northern Regionals Festival happened, and all state auditions are coming up, which is for the music program. We had participants in the band and the chorus. Also coming up is a Model UN trip. There's 8 students going to Boston for that. And then the drama club is currently preparing Footloose. Rehearsals are ongoing. And overall, it's been a new year, but it's been pretty quiet. Upcoming in February, there's going to be a lot of events, but for now, that's all. So, yeah.
Excellent, thank you. All right, moving on through the agenda tonight, we have, next item, the approval of minutes. We have the December 15th, 2022 Board of Education meeting minutes and the January 9th, 2023 Board of Education Curriculum Committee meeting minutes. Are there any requests for any edits, corrections to the minutes? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve the minutes.
Motion to approve the minutes?
Motion by Mr. Slattery. Is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Tucker. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Any abstentions? Motion passes 7-0. We have a smaller crew tonight, 7-0. Any correspondence, Dr. Zito?
Yes, 3 items. First of all, regretfully, 2 outstanding veteran staff members have announced their intention to retire at the end of the year. So Don Brown, who's at the high school,
Oh, wow.
Mr. Brown Technology Education, has been in Rocky Hill since 1990. Does an amazing job. Is ready to move on and do some new things. He's certainly going to be missed. And Gene Robertson, longtime leader in science at the middle school, is also retiring at the end of the year. And again, they both wrote really nice letters thanking Rocky Hill and the Board of Ed for the opportunity to spend their careers here. And we will miss them greatly. We still have them until June, but they're going to be missed. And then in other news, we received a card thanking the board for the lunch that you had provided right around the holidays in recognition of the outstanding test scores that the students achieved last spring. So in addition to that card, we got a lot of emails from different teachers thanking the board for recognizing their efforts to work as hard as they do, and
That's great.
very well received. So it's always nice to get that feedback. So thank you for the support.
That's great. All right, moving on, consent calendar. We have 2 items tonight. The first is a field trip approval, Rocky Hill High School Model UN Delegate Conference in Boston, February 10th through 12th, 2023. And then field trip approval, varsity softball trip to Florida, spring 2024. This is rescheduled from the previous approval of spring 2023. Any requests to remove an item from the consent calendar? Hearing none, I'll entertain a motion to approve.
Motion to approve the consent calendar?
Motion for Mr. Slattery, is there a second?
Second.
Seconded by Ms. Lafredo. All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion passes 7-0. All right, committee reports, curriculum.
Curriculum, we met on January 9th, and we reviewed 3 agenda items. The first being, we discussed the new auto admissions to state schools and some elective private schools. So the top 30% of the high school class received notices already from the high school about the program and the auto admission to these schools. We talked about the elimination of the freshman seminar. That was it's being replaced, or already has been replaced, by the senior seminar course that was established in 2021. But the freshman seminar was discussed also that it's being eliminated because there's other measures that are in place that are helping the transition from 8th graders to high school, such as the orientation that was discussed in the student representative. And then lastly, discuss the career pathways for non-college bound students. And there was multiple steps that administration is taking to assist these students that are planning to either attend community college, technical trade schools, certificate programs, or those that are unsure about what programs they're attending. And then working on next steps include continuing the plan of mini post-secondary fairs and resuming the host of a fair in 2023.
All right. That was a great meeting, by the way, for
It
the
was.
curriculum committee. I really thought everyone did a wonderful job. And Darlene, thank you to you and your team. I thought it was very informative. Ms. Schaefer, thank you. And Mr. Fode, thank you. It was a very good meeting. Any questions for Ms. Tucker regarding the curriculum committee? Okay. Hearing none, we'll move on to facilities. I know that Mr. Gavin could not be here tonight. I'll briefly, I think, recap the meeting, right? We met on the 22nd.
Well,
correct?
we didn't have a quorum. We did.
Correct, we did not have a quorum, correct.
Conversation with the members present
Yep.
with the architect from Bemis Solution.
Yes, so there was no recommendations or actions taken, but we had a brief update on the GMS roof project, which is in the process of going out to bid. That was previously approved by the board. We did talk about the upcoming Stevens School HVAC project, which Mr. LaMontagne is got on the street. That's phase one. There's no bids yet or anything back yet. He'll be coming to the committee sometime, I believe, in early February with a recommendation for next steps. And then we talked about the CIP plan, which is now in everyone's budget. So there was no formal recommendations regarding the CIP, but Chuck explained a little bit about the process and how it works through. So, and that CIP is in everyone's budget book. So I anticipate we'll have a facilities meeting in February, talk about the Stevens and the GMS bids. So fingers crossed, we get good numbers and can proceed with both of those projects. All right, moving on, finance.
Finance Committee did not meet, but we do have these lovely binders in front of us to talk about the budget, which starts next Tuesday.
Yes. Personnel and negotiations, I believe we do not have any contracts
Correct.
right now. Policy,
Policy did not meet.
special education.
Special education, we were scheduled to meet due to scheduling conflicts. We did have to reschedule, so we're in the process of rescheduling special
Okay,
education.
that's right, that's right. Okay, and correct counsel, Mr. Desai.
Yeah, my report is very, very brief. There was no meeting last year. The first meeting was held on January 18th. Craig is entering the third year of a 5-year Head Start or Early Head Start program grant from the Head Start Federal Office. Action to adopt a revised budget for this program was recommended. Policy Committee, after second reading, presented policies for Craig Council approval during November meeting on various topics. Finally, I'm sharing this annual report for year 2021-22 with the board here to take a look.
Oh, great.
That's
Thank
all
you.
for today.
Thank you. Any questions for Mr. Desai regarding the correct counsel? No, thank you for bringing that to the meeting to look. School safety, Mr. Slattery.
School safety has not met since the last meeting, although I do anticipate scheduling a meeting as we're now working through the budget and starting to plan for next year, so.
All right. Any questions on school safety? No? All right, we will move on. Old business, I do not believe we have any, correct?
Correct.
All right, new business. We have a brief agenda tonight, so we're going to start with the Assistant Superintendent for Personnel and Student Services, Ms. Stevenson.
All right, good evening, everyone. I have a very brief report for you all. Monday, January 23rd at 5 o'clock, we have our Special Education Advisory Council meeting, and that's going to be by Zoom. So I think some of you have been emailed, so that meeting is all set to go. And also, I wanted to report that we found out, I can't remember, I think it was Tuesday, that the district is going to most likely be getting a $15,000 grant from the state. And that grant is going to be able to help us with some training for the CT SEDS, which is the new IEP in 504, because we're still working our way towards that process and helping staff. So the state is going to be giving us money. So I'll be working on that grant. So that was good news. And then I just wanted to give a shout out on January 13th. So last year we had done some professional development. We did West Hill and Stevens, and we did GMS and the high school. We did trauma-informed practices. We were not able to get Mosier in, and most of those professional development experiences were on the full PD days. On January 13th, we had a half day, and Steph Malkin, school psychologist at the high school, Cade LaMontagne, social worker at Mosier, and Alexis Leona, special education teacher at Mosier, did a trauma-informed practices. And what was great about that is that the paraeducators were able to attend, so that was really great. And we want to look to do maybe some more of those sessions on those half days because the paraeducators are there. So I wasn't able to attend the session, but I heard it went well, and I was able to look at the PowerPoint. So I just wanted to say thank you to those staff members who did a great job. And switching gears towards HR, we still continue to be very steady and quite well-staffed, which has been great. I think we had one certified staff opening, and I believe we have a candidate going to the superintendent, right, Mr. Fode? Is that true? Yes. So I believe that position is going to be filled. So, we just continue to do well and have our schools really operating and fully staffed, which has been, Rocky Hill is a place people want to work. So, that's great. So thanks for all the support. And if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer them.
Any questions for Ms. Stevenson? All right. Thank you for that report. All right. Finance, Assistant Superintendent for Finance and Operations, Mr. Zettergren.
Okay. Enclosed in your board packet is the financial report through the month ending December 2022. As I typically do, I've reported and highlighted some of the line items that we'll be keeping an eye on as we progress throughout the remainder of the school year. As you noted, at your seats are the budget binders that have been distributed to each of you this evening. The budget binder is structured in much the same way as previous years, so hopefully it will look more familiar to you at this point in time. As been noted, our budget workshops are scheduled for next Tuesday and Thursday, beginning at 6:30, with a workshop also scheduled for Thursday, February 2nd, if needed. Many times it has not been needed. The workshops will be held here in the council chambers, and typically, once you get into the budget binders and take a look at the materials, if you have any questions, feel free to email those questions to Dr. Zito or myself, and we'll try to compile and answer the questions as part of our budget workshop process. That always works out well. We look forward to presenting the budget to you next week and receiving your feedback. It's a good process to get the dialogue rolling and get your input and make any adjustments that you see fit.
Excellent. Any questions for Mr. Zettergren? All right. Thank you. Dr. Zito.
A couple quick comments. First of all, I want to thank Ms. Listro and Mr. Crawford for the great update they gave tonight. The district's efforts to support diversity and promote excellence for all of our kids. We really appreciate the work that's being done, and we know this is really beneficial to our students. So again, I look forward, Ms. Listro, to having you come back in April with Eric and bring some kids to talk about what they've been doing. I think that's going to be great. I also want to acknowledge Chuck for all the work he does with his support staff and the business office to put these binders together. A lot of information that goes into a approximately $50 million budget. Next week begins one of your most important tasks as a Board of Education, which is to review and ultimately adopt the budget. And I want to reemphasize what Chuck said. If you get into these binders, and we hope you do, we know there's some good football games scheduled this weekend and so forth. So college basketball's in full swing. But if you do dig into the books and things come up where you have questions, please email us, because I want to say, maybe with you as the chair, Brian, maybe Frank, right before he was leaving, we started that practice of just get emails to us, and then we can incorporate that into the workshops.
Yeah.
It's efficient. It also gives us time to find answers, because I've always been of the mindset that if I don't know the answer, I'm not going to answer and wing it. I'm going to say, we got to go look that up for you. So if we have some of the questions in advance, we can come prepared and say, all right, a board member or two board members have this particular question. Here's what's going on with this factor in the budget. So I can't emphasize that enough. And again, this is an interactive process, because at the end of the day, it's your adopted budget. And the process, although it starts Tuesday, really doesn't end for the board piece until mid-March, when you have to adopt by town charter. And then it really doesn't end after that, because then it goes to the council. And then the council, typically by the first week in May, makes the final appropriation in accordance with state law. So, this is the beginning of basically a 5-month process for the budget. So we look forward to the workshops. We have the dates. Nobody on the board has mentioned conflicts except Mr. Gavin has a commitment if there's a third session. And I did email Mr. Gavin today, and I said, Mr. Dillon's call, but historically, we haven't needed the third session. Really, Brian, you'll make a call based on how the first two sessions go.
Yeah.
So that's my update. It is certainly budget season, and we look forward to working with you.
Mark, did you want to mention the pre-budget meeting activities?
Pre-budget in terms of.
The food.
Yes. Please, yeah, I forgot. Christine was going to remind me too. My bad. Ms. Flynn has arranged for refreshments available at 5:45 on the nights of budget workshops in the conference room. We know that some of you come straight from work. We know you're an elected official, but it's a volunteer position. And we don't want you to be hungry, because then you'll get grumpy. Please come. You know, as early as 5:45. Go in, grab something to eat, relax, coffee, refreshments will be available. Subs, Jersey Mike's, I think, is on the menu. And we want you to be well-fed and energized when you come in at 6:30. So please join us early if you can. Thank you, Chuck.
Any questions for Dr. Zito from any board members? No? Okay. My report will be very brief as well. First of all, I think to Ms. Listro and Mr. Crawford, thank you so much for that excellent presentation. It's great to see all the wonderful things that are going on in the Rocky Hill school system. So that was really great to see tonight.
And Mr. Dillon, I do want to also give a shout out to Mary Schaefer that I mentioned in the beginning. She is integral in some of those curriculum updates that I presented tonight.
Ms. Schaefer, thank you to you as well. Your efforts are greatly appreciated. Thank you. And with that, the only other thing I wanted to do was to really thank all the board members in advance. Our budget process is one of our most extensive processes that we partake in. It's a lot of time and an effort on behalf of board members to be prepared, to go through the process, then ultimately to adopt a budget and make a decision. So in advance of us starting this process next week, thank you for all of your efforts and your commitment to guide the district through this process. With that, I will entertain a motion to adjourn. Motion from Ms. Rolfe. We have a second by Mr. Slattery. All those in favor?